James Gorman, and I'm running to be the Board of Regents representative next year. I'll start off by talking about some of the experiences and some of the qualifications I think qualify me for this position. First of all, and I think the most valuable one is that I was a counselor this year. I was one of the Southside counselors on the SAC this year, or MASU, or however you want it. I think that gave me a lot of experience of how student governance works, as well as general university organizations kind of work. I think that is extra important next year since it'll be a smaller council, which I voted for. I think and people need to remember that the Board of Regents is also a member of large on council, so I think I'll be able to step into that role very easily. I've known that I wanted to run for Board of Regents for a couple of months now, so I've been talking to Ian, who's the current Board of Regents rep, as well as doing research and just reading up on what the board is and what it does. So I feel that I'm qualified to step into the board rather quickly and not gonna have much of a learning period. So, the board. One thing that I've really just noticed in the infancy of my campaign in the last 24 hours, I guess, the first thing that people ask if they see that I had my event on Facebook or I say, are you going to vote on next week? It's not a question about me or not a question about my campaign or not a question about any of my policies. The first question is always, what is the Board of Regents? So I think that that is going to be one of my biggest goals. I think that, well, first of all, the Board of Regents is the highest governing body of the university. It oversees all the administration and basically all the aspects of the operation of the university. So it's an important body in the university, the most important body in the university. So I think a big thing that I would like to accomplish if I was elected would be to try to educate people what the Board of Regents is and why it's important for students to know what it is. Obviously, I think it's a part of the MASU that gets overlooked, and I think it's a part of the MASU that needs to be utilized more. The lobbying to the board, which is ultimately the body that can make any decision final or overturn any decision. So I think our lobbying efforts to the board need to be very professional and there needs to be more of an emphasis placed on those. Not to say that I think that Ian's doing a great job. I think people just need to recognize that he's doing a great job and that needs to continue into the future. So I think that with the things I said, I have experience working within an organization like the MASU, and I think I could carry that forward onto the board and be able to work well in a professional setting like that. I've done a lot of committee work with the MASU, and the board, basically the work on the board gets done in committees. There's committees like the investment committee or the academic affairs committee or student affairs committee. So I think that's important to be able to step right into that role. Also, if I'm elected, I'm not using this as a stepping stone or anything else. I'd like to serve on the board for my final 2 years at Mount A. So I think that continuity of lobbying could be valuable but we'll cross that bridge if I'm elected, I guess. So I guess the big thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that there are only 3 meetings the board has every year. So I think because there's such a small number of meetings, it gives us a very unique opportunity to really, really prepare for those meetings and basically prepare not with what my priorities are, not what I think is important. I think since there's so few meetings, it gives me a good chance to go out into the student body and really find out what people want brought to the board. So my main piece of policy or my main platform point would be to hold extensive consultation sessions and doing everything I can to basically check the temperature of the student body and see what issues they want brought to the board. I would imagine divestment will be one of them. I'd probably pass next Monday. So an issue like that, or safety, or accessibility, like those are all things that I would want to hear about in sessions. And then I don't want to just be me talking. I want to say, well, when I get to the board and I talk about these issues, I want to be able to say, well, I've talked to students, I've had X number of meetings, and this is what students want to see addressed. And then as a thing after that, I want to do reports afterwards to talk about what happened at council, and Rayon's waving at me. So basically, yeah, I want to be accountable to people and make sure that it's students' concerns that are brought forward at the board. Thank you, Rayon.
Good evening, everyone. Before I start, I'd just like to say I know how busy we all are at this point of year, and I'd just like to thank everyone to take the time out of their night to come here to listen to all our speeches. It really means a lot to me. Thank you. My name is Jang, and I'm a second-year science student, and I'm an RA in Bigelow House. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to be answering the questions that all of you came here wondering. Why am I a good candidate, and what will I do for the school? So I'd just like to say that in my 2 years of education here, I've learned a lot. I've had a lot of fun, and I've also grown a lot as a person. Just to put it into perspective, if this was me in first year, I would have no interest whatsoever standing in front of you talking right here. So that's how much I've grown. So I'm also not afraid to say that in my 2 years here, I have seen a lot of things that I'm dissatisfied with and that I'd like to improve upon. And I want to work with the board to fix these problems. So let's just think about all the things that we like about our school and all the things that we dislike. Now, get rid of all those things that we dislike and pretend that we only have the things that we enjoy. That would be wonderful. That's the goal, but that is actually, I guess, the definition of perfection. That's a little bit ambitious, but no. So in order to achieve this, I've outlined a couple things on my platform that I think are important. But the number one thing that I think is the most important is open communication. Why is that? It seems a bit general, right? It seems like there's no focus. Well, I think it's the most important point because I'm only one person. And I can represent all of you. I can represent the student body if I get elected, but I can't think for all of you. So it's actually, in my opinion, it's the other way around. People think for themselves and they think for me. So there's no way that I can make everyone happy, period. But there is no way I can make anybody happy if we don't have good communication. No matter how good I am at getting stuff done, doesn't matter as long as there's no, if we don't have good communication. So I'd like to go over now some other few points that I think are important. So number one would be increased residence staff compensation. I'm an RA and I have worked with other RAs, ACMEN, and any other house physician I've also worked with. And this is how I know that we are all undercompensated. So imagine all the times that an RA has had to take care of you or a friend, or had to help you when you were locked out of your room or something like that, et cetera, et cetera. That's the kind of stuff that you get to see, but I assure you there's more than that. Does anyone know how much an RA makes? Anyone? Emily? Yeah, $2,400 a year. ACMENs make about half of that, and ADs make about double. And that is nothing compared to other universities in Canada. Other universities in Canada make, they give their RAs they give them money in addition to free board and room and board. So that's ridiculous. There's quite a difference. My number two point that I'd like to go over. I would like to see our school be more sustainable. If I get elected, I will definitely continue to help and support the development of policy to make our campus greener. Number three, I'd like information to be more accessible. And what better way to have more accessible information than better Wi-Fi? According to the Mount A website, Mount Allison is the first university in Canada to be completely wireless. And what does that mean? Well, it means that our technology is ancient. So I want to push for that next year. I want to see new technology for Wi-Fi, and that needs to happen soon. And communication is number one point. Remember me for that. If you elect me, I will represent you. I will do the work, but I want you guys to be my eyes, ears, and my brain. Oh, Eddie Jang, thank you.
Everybody, thanks for coming out tonight to support your local student politics. So I am a second-year psychology student, and my name is Willow McCaffrey Novus. And I'm a fresh face with an informed voice is really how I can simply describe myself. So I've spent the year at the Argosy reporting on politics. You guys maybe have read some of my articles or watched my live tweets. So I feel like I've had a really great opportunity this year to really see the inner workings of the student union and really see how things function in that regards. I've been able to learn, I've been able to watch, and I've been able to listen. But furthermore, I've also been able to talk to a lot of student groups on campus through that work. And I've been able to hear what their priorities are and what they want and what they're looking for through their student representatives. So that's why I initially decided to run, is because I think that I can bring an informed voice. I can bring an informed voice, and I can also bring a strong voice. So I want to be an advocate because I think it's important to listen to students. I think it's important to keep those lines of communication open. So if I was elected, I would like to have more consultation sessions, which I know is sort of something that people will say and then you don't hear from them again, but really at least one consultation session a semester to give students the opportunity to tell me what they want me to be advocating for. Because really, what is the Students' Union but a united voice, a united front, and what are we supposed to be doing? We're supposed to be representing you, so tell me what you want. But I do have some priorities that I would like to specifically focus on going in. One of them is sexual assault resources on campus. This is something I've been researching on my own, but also through my work at the Argosy. I had ideas going into that about how a policy change was gonna fix it all and be the one-shot solution, but things are always more complicated than that. So there's other things that I'd like to focus on with that, and I would love to expand on that more if anyone would like to hear from that, but that's going to be one of my priorities. And another priority would be accessibility on campus. A group that has been attending, that came to council, ACID, to get approved as a club and society, and a bunch of students from the ACID group came to council and were very vocal, very well-spoken and informed on the issues, and they really showed council that they were the experts on this, but they wanted council support. And I think that's a really unique thing that we can do, is use the union partnerships with student groups and student groups that are experts on these situations and kind of combine those to get things done. And then I would also like to look into getting a racism policy that would stand on its own and not just fall under a harassment policy, so a legitimate racism policy. So come out to vote on the 17th and 18th. And if you have any questions, then I'm always open to answering them.